Recently, I've been making a lot of reactions to American food videos, and honestly, for me, I feel like American food from the US, is one of the most underrated cuisines in the world. So much good food from all parts of the country. Recently, I reacted to Jolly trying some southern barbecue, some soul food, and I wanted to look a bit more at southern food. So that's what we're doing today. This is southern comfort foods you need to try before you die. Now, as you can see from the bottom, there's a lot of different southern comfort foods. So looking forward to seeing this, looking forward to just appreciating American food, American cuisine again. Tell me what your favorite southern comfort food is. I'm sure it's very diverse and varied because the south of the US is huge, again, with influences from so many different people from different backgrounds and so on. So let's check this out and let's enjoy.
If you've ever lived in the American South, you'll know that the food down there has its own unique identity, and it's absolutely delicious too. If you haven't tried these, well, bless your heart. These are the Southern comfort foods you absolutely need to try. One of the most popular dishes to have come out of New Orleans are beignets. These airy treats are made with usually square pieces of yeast dough that are fried in hot oil until they puff up. They're then generously dusted with powdered sugar and eaten straight away, preferably accompanied by a mug of café au lait. Arguably the best place to enjoy a beignet is in New Orleans, preferably at the Café du Monde, in the city's French Quarter. But if getting around is proving a little difficult right now, then you're in luck, because they're not difficult to make at home either. Just make sure to turn them often in the oil, and be careful not to overcook them.
Are they that easy? The thing about beignets, I know of beignets because my friend who's from America, she went to New Orleans and she brought some beignet making kit to us here in Malaysia. And we tried to make it, but it was just an absolute fail. I don't know what happened, but they were so flat and just, we were not able to make them as well as they look there. Tell me, is it that easy to make beignets in your opinion? Have you ever made them? For me, like, it's right up my street. I love sweet stuff. I love donuts and that sort of thing. So it looks kind of similar to a donut. But yeah, already this is something I have exposure to, but just failed in its construction previously.
Biscuits and gravy is a hearty breakfast dish that you'll find in restaurants and homes across the South. The soft, flaky biscuits are smothered in white gravy, which is made from pork sausage drippings, milk, and flour. The gravy is seasoned with black pepper and typically includes pieces of the breakfast sausage too, making it even more flavorful. The good news is that sausage gravy is easy to make at home, and there are plenty of different recipes available online. Failing that, you could pick up some of the ready mix packets at the grocery store, although you'll really want to try the homemade stuff at least once. As for the biscuits, if making them from scratch just isn't feasible, the Pillsbury ones you pop open and bake will work just fine. Just don't let a southerner catch you taking those shortcuts.
Yeah, that's true. When they were mentioning how to make the gravy, that one actually sounds a bit easier than making beignets. Obviously with beignets, you've got the technical aspect of having to like fry it in the correct temperature, turn it so often, whatever they said there. But the gravy, I feel like I could maybe make a better attempt at making the gravy. And that sounds good. That's what I asked about on one of the previous videos. What is that gravy? Because it's so different to British gravy, but got the sausage meat in there and things that looks great. One thing I have tried is the biscuits. They've got a place here called Texas Chicken, which I think in America is actually called Church's Texas Chicken. So I've tried a biscuit from there before. Maybe I should make a video trying that, but they just don't have that same gravy. They usually just serve them on their own, or even with jam and things like that as well. And the interesting thing here in Malaysia, they have that Church's Texas Chicken, but they're not allowed to call it Church's because that's like a church, like Christian, and this is a Muslim country, so they just call it Texas Chicken. Tell me if you want to see a video from there, maybe I'll make one.
Okay, so boiled peanuts sound kind of bland compared to roasted peanuts, but don't judge a book by its cover. These are actually really good. They're made by taking raw peanuts and boiling them for hours in salty water over a fire, until the shells turn soggy. These peanuts are then sold at roadside stands all over the South, where residents and tourists alike enjoy them, often with bottles of Coke or sweet tea. For what it's worth, it's usually best to munch on boiled peanuts outdoors, so you can easily spit out their soggy shells, because it's nearly impossible to crack them open with your hands. Of course, some people opt to eat these peanuts whole, shells and all, but that's one heck of an acquired taste.
Have you tried them? Would you ever consider eating with the shell?
For centuries, people have been making use of their stale bread by creating their own kinds of bread pudding. Often made with bread, cream, eggs, sugar, spices, and raisins, modern bread pudding is the heartiest of comfort foods and should do wonders for warming you up on a cold and dreary day. So how do you make bread pudding even better? Just add bourbon. In the South, people often add a few dashes of bourbon to a number of different recipes, and bread pudding is one of them. The bourbon combines with the cream and sugar to create a thick, warm sauce that is drizzled over the warm bread pudding right before serving. Brunswick stew is a hearty
Okay, bread pudding? I thought bread pudding was British. Like, that's one of our kind of staple, old school desserts is like a good bread pudding. So to know that that's actually like a Southern American comfort food, that's actually very interesting to me. I never had any idea. Tell me how you like to eat that. Do you like the bourbon on there? I'd be all for that, definitely. This one, Brunswick stew, I feel like I've seen on another video. I love stews. That's another very British thing as well. Irish, we love our stew, but this one looks, I mean, the flavour you can already see. When it sticks to the pot like that with the colour of that, you know it's going to be good.
Tomato-based stew that's hugely popular in the South. It typically features lima beans, corn, and other vegetables, along with some sort of meat. The base includes barbecue sauce and a little hot sauce for some heat too.
Oh, yes.
Early versions of the stew use squirrel meat, but if you're not brave enough to keep it authentic, you can always substitute the squirrel with rabbit, chicken, or just about anything else. Virginians claim the stew originated in their Brunswick County, while Georgians will tell you it was first made in the city of Brunswick, Georgia. Wherever it came from, however, it's a truly delicious comfort food that'll easily take the chill out of a wintry day. Grab some cornbread, or a loaf of any crusty bread for that matter, to sop up all the southern goodness.
Yeah, you've got to have bread with stews. That's like definitely like a necessity for that sauce, especially one that looks like that. But squirrel, I've never even considered or heard of that being considered as something that you could eat. Is there enough meat on that to even enjoy that, man? Surely there's more meat to be had in chickens and so on, but squirrel, have you ever tried squirrel? Is that true? That people have actually
Fried catfish
eaten squirrel?
is a simple dish that's available at most restaurants that serve fish in the South. And the good news is that catfish is pretty good for you, since it's high in omega-3 fatty acids and low in mercury. If you can't find it at a restaurant near you, however, your grocery store may offer farmed catfish, which is also typically clean and nutritious. Catfish is easy enough to prepare. Dip it in milk, dredge it in seasoned cornmeal, and fry it in hot oil. It only takes a few minutes to get it golden brown on the outside and beautifully flaky on the inside. Add a squirt of lemon and a side of rice, then start chowing down. Pure bliss. For a truly comforting meal, there's nothing like a bowl of chicken and dumplings. If you aren't in the South, where you can find them at most sit-down restaurants, you can try making these at home by dropping biscuit dough into cooking soup. And though they aren't difficult to make, dumplings are a kind of art form, and they can take some time to perfect. You don't want your dumplings undercooked and wet inside, but you also don't want them so overcooked that they start falling apart in the broth. Stick them with a toothpick, and if it comes out clean, you're good to go.
I feel like that's one I would definitely not have the skills to be able to make. It sounds already difficult, like, but they do look very good. I mean, what I'm seeing from Southern comfort food, of course it says comfort food, but it's all very hearty. You know it's going to be like feeling so good. You're going to feel so good when you're eating this type of food.
Chicken fried steak, sometimes called country fried steak, is made from a tenderized cube steak which is battered like fried chicken, pan-fried and topped with white gravy. While you can find chicken fried steak in an array of southern states, it's most closely associated with Texas. And as with most things, it's always bigger in Texas too. In fact, at Lulu's Cafe in San Antonio, you can find a 21-ounce version of this dish. And it's not a coincidence that Lulu's is also home to the famous 3-pound cinnamon roll too. That's just how they roll down there, as it were. For your next Super Bowl party, why not forego the wings and serve up a batch of Southern fried chicken gizzards instead? Believe it or not, your guests might thank you for it. Okay, so you probably don't want to think too much about what a gizzard is, but that'll be easy enough to do once you realize how good it tastes. You can cook gizzards in a number of ways, but it's best to boil them first and then coat them before deep frying. Throw in a little hot sauce, and soon you won't be able to get enough of these tender little morsels.
The South loves hot
Chicken pot
sauce.
pie is an
I love that
iconic
as well.
Southern comfort food that, when done right, simply can't be beaten. And done right doesn't mean grabbing a pie from your grocer's freezer section. A flaky golden brown homemade crust is essential for this Southern specialty. Inside, the chicken needs to be moist and plentiful. The vegetables must be neither too firm nor too mushy, and the gravy creamy but not goopy. Is it a challenge to find a good chicken pot pie? Yes, but it really is worth
Why
it.
is it
And
a
if you don't
challenge?
trust restaurants to get it right, you could always experiment with different recipes at home. It might take some time to perfect, but once you land on just the right method, you'll never want to cook anything else.
That's
Ambrosia didn't actually
actually interesting because I thought like in America you don't really eat savoury pies. This is another thing that I feel is very British. Like these pies, like that is a pie I would get in the UK, like a chicken pie. Like it's like pretty standard British pie. I thought like Americans never really ate savoury pies. It was more like sweet pies. So again, I'm seeing a lot of similarities with British cuisine, which is quite interesting as well. In southern USA. Tell me if you've tried this and what would make a bad one. I guess maybe it being runny inside.
Once you land on just the right method, you'll never want to cook anything else. Ambrosia didn't actually originate in the South, but you'll still find it at plenty of Southern potlucks. This variety of fruit salad typically contains mandarin oranges, mini marshmallows, pineapple chunks, and shredded coconut mixed with some sort of dairy ingredient. Some people use mayonnaise, while others use cream cheese, plain yogurt, or whipped cream. You might also find some potluckers add in bananas, cherries, and nuts too. Because why the heck not, right? Think of it like a banana split without the ice cream. And then maybe throw in some ice cream anyway. If you live north of the Mason-Dixon line, you've probably never experienced chitlins before, and you are most definitely missing out. Chitlins are made from the large intestines of a hog, and they need to be carefully cleaned and prepared before cooking, for obvious reasons. Typically, the intestines are soaked in baking soda and water, rinsed several times, turned inside out and cleaned by hand before being boiled for several hours. And just in case you're doing this at home, be warned. Chitlins smell truly disgusting while they are boiling, so put some onion and lemon in the water to tone down the odor. After they are boiled, batter and deep fry them. Then serve them up with a little hot sauce. Though Pennsylvania has its own version of chow chow, it's actually completely different from the southern variety. In the South, chow chow is a cabbage-based type of pickled relish that incorporates onions, peppers, tomatoes, and a whole lot of seasoning. This stuff is often used as a topping for hot dogs and hamburgers, but you could also use it to top your cornbread, fish cakes, beans, and even your mashed potatoes. In fact, you can put it on just about anything. It'll taste great no matter what. Collard greens.
Yeah, like here in Asia, they have something similar. It's like a pickled veggie. It's called acha. And it's like the same idea where you can just put it on anything and it really like adds that sourness, tartness. Sometimes you get the crunch from the vegetables, can add the texture as well. So I like that sort of thing as well. Again, what I'm seeing so far, this looks fantastic. And again, it's like something where people always can maybe like say things about American cuisine, like just simplifying it to like hamburgers and hot dogs, maybe pizza. But this shows you like American food is so diverse and there's so much interesting things that you don't get anywhere else.
Greens are a leafy green vegetable, not completely unlike turnip or mustard greens, and are most often associated with soul food. They can be bitter and tough if not cooked properly. But if they're done right, then they'll make the perfect side dish to any southern meal. After washing them well, chop the leaves into inch-long pieces, then simmer them in water. People often throw a ham bone into the pot, along with garlic and onion for a little extra flavor. But one of the best additions to collard greens has got to be bacon. You can never go wrong with bacon.
I wonder if that's like similar to how we have Brussels sprouts in the UK. Like though, a lot of people again will like maybe talk down on Brussels sprouts, but when you make them like that with the bacon and other things, it can really like give them so much flavour. And this also reminds me again of Asian food. Like in Asian dishes or Asian meals, you always have your meat, your rice or whatever carbs, but they always have some sort of like veggie, whether it's like pak choi, something like that, on the side, and it's like really a great accompaniment to your meal. And I guess collard greens is probably like a similar thing to that as well.
The best.
Tell me how you like yours served.
Addition to collard greens has got to be bacon. You can never go wrong with bacon.
Can never go
Red
wrong
eye
with
gravy
bacon,
is made
exactly.
with the grease and drippings of pan-fried ham and black coffee. And yeah, okay, that might sound kinda gross, but this stuff really is amazing. The coffee is first used to deglaze the pan, but is then combined with the grease on a 1-to-1 ratio, resulting in a highly unusual yet genuinely delicious gravy. You can pour the simple gravy over your ham, potatoes, rice, or grits, but many folk choose to simply sop it up with biscuits. Crawfish, crayfish, crawdads, or mudbugs, whatever you call them in your neck of the woods, these freshwater crustaceans are some of the tastiest seafood out there. Of course, you can eat crawfish meat dipped in drawn butter, just like you would with lobster. But if you ever find yourself in the Cajun areas of Louisiana, do yourself a favor and seek out crawfish etouffee. This is when crawfish meat in a spicy roux is poured over rice for an amazing dish with a seriously deep flavor.
Oof.
As simple as it sounds, you don't want to make fried chicken and waffles at home. Instead, hop on over to one of the South's many awesome waffle establishments or diners, the places that really get it right. If you haven't experienced chicken and waffles before, it might seem like an unusual combination, but it really does work. Crispy on the outside and juicy on the inside, perfectly seasoned fried chicken makes a heavenly partner for a plate of buttery waffles. This is also an incredibly versatile dish and should work great for breakfast, lunch, dinner, or a late night snack. Fried green
That was
tomatoes
so
is a
good.
simple southern side dish that packs a big punch. The key when making fried green tomatoes is to avoid them turning into a soft, soggy mess. Check your unripened tomatoes are suitably firm, then cut them into 3/8 to half-inch slices, and soak them for an hour in a mixture of buttermilk and hot sauce. Dredge the tomatoes in a combination of cornmeal and cornstarch, then fry them in bacon grease over medium-high heat until they're crispy on the outside. But be careful not to overcook them. You can dip them in just about anything, but a remoulade with mayo, hot sauce, horseradish, and Cajun spices would be the ultimate authentic accompaniment.
I miss the smell of coffee and bacon frying.
Oh, what I wouldn't give for a plate of fried green tomatoes.
I mean, the only time I never actually really considered fried green tomatoes being a real thing, but I feel like it's a book or a song or a movie or something like that. The name, I feel like I've heard the name before, but I feel like, again, I see similarities with Scotland. We'll fry anything and everything. Frying a tomato is kind of next level if you think about it, like frying something that's supposed to be so healthy. But when you see it like that, because of how thick it is, it looks really good. And one thing I've come in to learn from this video, the kind of two necessities for southern comfort food is hot sauce and biscuits. I think you can enjoy them with any of these dishes. What's the best hot sauce actually in America?
If you're looking for something a little out of the ordinary to fill you
Jambalaya?
up, consider jambalaya, a favorite in Louisiana. Jambalaya is a mix of sausage, chicken, seafood, and vegetables, cooked in the same pot with rice and stock. Creole jambalaya contains tomatoes, while the Cajun version does not. Both, of course, are extremely tasty.
Jambalaya.
In Cajun jambalaya, in rural Louisiana, you might also find a variety of game meats used, as well as alligator, crayfish, and even turtle. All Southerners know that everything's better when you fry it, and okra is no exception. To make these golden nuggets of veggie goodness for yourself, slice your okra, dip it in buttermilk, and then coat it in cornmeal and season before deep frying. The best thing here is that okra is seriously good for you, since it's low in calories and contains a great deal of fiber, potassium, calcium, and vitamins. The hot brown sandwich originated at the restaurant in the Brown Hotel in Louisville, Kentucky in the 1920s, and it's still served there today. The hot brown is traditionally an open-faced turkey sandwich with tomatoes, covered in mornay sauce, which is baked, topped with
size of
bacon,
that.
and then broiled. Some people say it was originally created with peaches rather than tomatoes. Others swear it's a great hangover cure. Pretty much everyone agrees, however, that it's a genuine, bona fide, once-in-a-lifetime sandwich. If you've ever eaten at
Whoa.
Long John Silver's, you've probably had their hush puppies. But the ones you can get at a southern restaurant or fish fry are a heck of a lot better than the Long John variety. Hush puppies are basically balls of fried cornmeal batter that are often served alongside fried fish or shrimp. Though hush puppies aren't exactly complex, they're kind of like potato chips, in that it's virtually impossible to eat just one. Southern pecan pie
Southern food, I mean, there's just so many different varieties, but it's all very different as well. It's not like it's all the same. There's so many different ways of cooking southern comfort food, but they all look very filling types of food.
with a splash of high-quality bourbon is hard to beat.
Pecan
If you
pie.
don't have a restaurant in your area that makes a killer pecan pie, though, it's not too difficult to make at home. However, you'll want to experiment with the amounts of corn syrup, brown sugar, and bourbon you're using until you find just the right combination. And sure, you might end up having to bake a load of pies to get it right, but who's gonna complain about that? If you aren't from the South, then there's a chance you aren't too familiar with pimento cheese. Basically, pimento cheese is a mixture of cheese mixed with mayo and pimento peppers. It can be spread on crackers, stuffed into celery, and scooped onto chips. Some people add it to scrambled eggs or grits, while others use it as a relish for brats, burgers, and hot dogs.
yes.
In Louisiana, they spice it up by adding hot sauce or cayenne pepper into the mix. But the possibilities for pimento cheese are endless, and once you start incorporating it into your recipes, you're never going to want to stop. Pot
That does
liquor is
look
the
great
liquid that's
again
left
as well.
behind after you boil green vegetables. So what do you do with it other than pour it down the sink? Well, some people save pot liquor and use it in place of stock in their next stew or soup, while others pour it over rice or potatoes. But the best thing to do with pot liquor is drink it. It might seem a little odd, but that way you can reap all the nutrients that have boiled out of the greens. Red beans and rice is a staple dish in Louisiana Creole cuisine. Traditionally, families took the ham hocks, bones, vegetables, and beans that were left over from Sunday dinner and used them to create a scrumptious dish of spicy beans that were served with rice the next day.
Oh
Cayenne
my
pepper,
God,
Tabasco
that's
sauce, and other seasonings can turn up the heat on this hearty meal. While some people like to add in sausage or other meats. Here's a tip though. If you boil bones to make a broth for the base, you'll get exactly the flavor you want without having to add anything else. Gumbo is sometimes confused with jambalaya, but it's not the same thing at all. The key difference is that with jambalaya, the rice is cooked with the rest of the ingredients. With gumbo, however, the rice is cooked separately. Gumbo is a stew created with a strong, robust stock, sausage, shrimp, other shellfish, and the holy trinity of vegetables: bell peppers, celery, and onions. The most important aspect of home cooking a great gumbo is perfecting the roux that's used as its base. Or you could just head down to New Orleans and get someone to make it for you. Your call.
Yeah, it seems like stews are definitely a big part of southern food. And again, that's something I really relate to, being from the UK, where stews are like a big part of our cuisine as well. It's nothing better, man, than you get like some very hearty, flavourful. And I think the thing about southern comfort food, you can definitely see it's so flavourful. I'm someone who loves spice and heat, so this is like my type of food, really. Again,
Where's my mac and cheese?
Everyone knows that real macaroni and cheese doesn't come out of a box, nor does it come with a packet of powdered cheese. Real good old-fashioned southern mac and cheese is a completely separate dish altogether. It's often created with the combination of cheeses, and you can use anything from smoked cheddar and Monterey Jack to Gruyere and Velveeta. Southern recipes usually feature heavy whipping cream, evaporated milk, or both. And the dish is baked in the
So
oven until the
rich.
sauce is creamy and the top is crispy. No matter how much you love macaroni and cheese, you've never really tried it until you've had it in the South. You might have seen sweet potato casserole at Thanksgiving dinner and passed it by, but it's time to stop sleeping on this delicious dish. Though some folks love it topped with charred marshmallows, others prefer a topping made with brown sugar and pecans. Give it a go, and you'll soon realize that this often overlooked Thanksgiving side dish deserves a place on your dinner table all through the year. Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more.
oh man, that is unbelievable. That's what I'm saying. Like, so much good food, and this is like just in one region of the USA. So you extrapolate that, the variety here over the rest of the USA, like, got such diverse cuisine. And yeah, this one again, like, I feel like I'm being drawn to southern food just because of my tastes and the hearty nature of it, how filling it would be. It all looks so good. So tell me what your favourite southern comfort food is. Maybe recommend some that were not on this that you know of, and I'll check them out. Thanks.